The rain-slicked streets of Los Angeles gleamed like shattered glass under the sodium glow of street lamps. And Carter Hayes slammed the door of the dive bar so hard the neon open sign flickered out. His heart hammered not from the cheap whiskey burning his throat, but from the eviction notice crumpled in his fist. Another month. Another dream deferred in this godforsaken city of angels with broken wings. He didn't see the sleek black Tesla idling at the curb until its door swung open. And a voice like velvet-wrapped gravel cut through the downpour. "Get in before you drown in your own bullshit." Carter froze. Water streaming down his face, mixing with the salt of tears he refused to acknowledge. The man inside was a shadow of tailored perfection, broad shoulders filling out a cashmere coat, jaw carved from marble, eyes like smoked whiskey that pinned him in place. It was him. The guy from the ad. The one who'd posted on that shady corner of Craigslist, seeking actor for intimate role. No experience necessary. Pay, $10,000 per week. Discretion required. Carter had laughed it off at first, but desperation had a funny way of turning punchlines into paychecks. But here he was, staring at the architect of his potential salvation, or damnation, beckoning him into the unknown. "Who?" the man said. Not a question. His lips curling into a smile that didn't reach those haunted eyes. "You're late. And soaked. You look like a drowned rat with a chip on his shoulder." Carter's pride bristled. But the warmth of the car's interior called like a siren song. And before he knew it, he was sliding into leather seats that smelled of money and regret, the door sealing shut behind him like a pact with the devil. Carter's fingers drummed against his thigh as the Tesla purred through the labyrinth of Hollywood Hills, the city lights blurring into streaks of gold and crimson below them. He stole glances at the driver, Elias Voss, as the email signature had read. 35. Tech mogul? Heir to some Silicon Valley fortune that funded apps Carter couldn't afford to download. Elias's profile was sharp against the dashboard glow, high cheekbones shadowed by a day's stubble, dark hair swept back just enough to look effortless, a silver ring glinting on his thumb like a talisman against the isolation wealth couldn't buy. But it was the way his hands gripped the wheel, knuckles white, veins mapping quiet fury, that betrayed the man beneath the polish. "So," Carter started, voice rough from the rain and the rotgut, "you gonna tell me what this gig entails? Or do I just smile and nod like a good little escort?" The word escort hung heavy, laced with the barbs of every judgmental stare he'd endured since coming out at 16 in a trailer park where love was a four-letter word starting with F. Elias's laugh was low, mirthless, like gravel under tires. "Escort? Carter, it's deeper than that. Much deeper." He flicked on the blinker, merging onto a winding road flanked by mansions that loomed like judgmental gods. "My family's breathing down my neck. Father's on his deathbed, rewriting the will to cut me out unless I settle down. Show the world I'm not the family disappointment, the queer son who fled to LA to build empires instead of popping out heirs. So, I need you to be my boyfriend. Convincing. Public. Intimate." Carter's stomach twisted, a cocktail of revulsion and reluctant intrigue. He'd waitressed, modeled for sketchy photographers, even stripped once on a dare that turned into a nightmare. But this? Pretending to love a stranger? Intimate how? Exactly? Hand-holding and Instagram posts. Or? He trailed off, the implications sour on his tongue. Elias's eyes met his in the rear view, piercing, unyielding. Kisses that linger. Touches that whisper promises. Nights where we sell the lies so well even we start believing it. He paused. The car slowing as they crested a hill. The sprawling Voss estate unfurling below, modernist glass and steel perched on a cliff, overlooking the Pacific like it owned the horizon. 10 grand a week. Wired on Fridays. Contracts ironclad, and the works. You? Or do I drop you back at that shithole bar to chase tips from tourists? The offer clanged in Carter's chest like loose change in an empty pocket. 10 grand. Rent paid. Mom's chemo bills chipped away. A shot at something beyond scraping by in a city that chewed up dreamers and spat out husks. Fuck it, he muttered, extending a hand slick with rain. I'm in. But if you try to collar me like a pet, I'll walk. Elias's grip was firm, warm, too warm, lingering a beat too long as their eyes locked. Deal. Welcome to the Voss Circus, Carter Hayes. Try not to get lost in the funhouse. The estate swallowed them whole. It was a cathedral of cool minimalism, white marble floors echoing their footsteps. Floor-to-ceiling windows framing the ocean's restless black. A butler, silent as a ghost, took Elias's coat, revealing a frame honed by personal trainers and the quiet desperation of a man who'd built walls higher than his net worth. Carter trailed him to a study lined with first editions and awards that gathered dust, the air thick with the scent of aged scotch and unspoken grief. Sit, Elias commanded, pouring 2 glasses from a crystal decanter. Carter perched on the edge of a leather armchair, feeling like an intruder in his own skin. Elias slid a contract across the desk, pages of legalese that blurred under the weight of what it meant. Read it. Sign it. Then we start. Carter scanned the clauses, public displays of affection. Attendance at family events. Cohabitation for authenticity. His pulse quickened at the last one, shared sleeping quarters. You're serious? I move in here. Elias leaned against the desk, arms crossed, the fabric of his shirt straining over his chest. The help talks. Paparazzi sniff. If we're doing this, it's all in. Every stolen glance. Every brush of fingers. Make them believe. Carter. Make me believe. If you can. There it was, the crack in the facade. A flicker of something raw. Horrible. Like Elias was auditioning too. Carter's pen hovered, then scratched his name in looping cursive. Fine. But ground rules, no real names in bed. No falling for the act. And when it's over, you ghost like a bad Tinder date. Elias's smile returned. Sharper this time. Rules are for people who think they can control the chaos. Let's see how long yours last. That first night set the tone. Elias showed him to a guest suite, king bed, ocean view, but Carter barely slept, the contract burning a hole in his nightstand drawer. Dawn broke with Elias knocking, coffee in hand, looking unfairly human in joggers and a faded UC Berkeley tee. Breakfast on the terrace. Then lesson 1, how to fake a kiss that fools the world. They ate in silence at first, the Pacific crashing below like applause for their farce. Elias talked logistics, family dinner next week, a gala in 2. Carter nodded, stealing bites of avocado toast, his mind replaying the warmth of that handshake. When Elias stood, extending a hand, Carter took it, letting himself be pulled close on the sun-warmed tiles. "Watch my eyes," Elias murmured, his breath ghosting Carter's lips. "Not the camera. The eyes sell the soul." Then he leaned in, slow as sin, lips brushing Carter's in a graze that was meant to be rehearsal but ignited like dry tinder. Soft at first, then insistent, Elias's hand cupping Carter's jaw, thumb tracing the pulse point that betrayed his quickening heart. It was acting, had to be, but Carter's body didn't get the memo. Leaning in, tasting salt and scotch and the faint edge of truth. They broke apart, breaths mingling. Elias's eyes dark pools Carter could drown in. "Good," Elias said, voice husky. "Very good. But next time, mean it." Carter laughed it off, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. But inside, something shifted, a tremor in the foundation of the lie they'd built. Little did he know, it was the first crack in a dam ready to burst. The days blurred into a rhythm of deception. Mornings, Elias in board meetings via Zoom, Carter lounging by the infinity pool, scrolling scripts he swore he'd land someday. Afternoons, practice sessions that stretched from scripted dialogues to impromptu makeouts on the couch. Elias's hands mapping Carter's back like he was committing it to memory. Evenings, quiet dinners where Elias opened up in fragments, father's empire built on lies, mother's ghost haunting the halls, his own coming out at 22 that shattered the family silver. "You're not what I expected," Elias admitted one night over steak and red wine, the city twinkling like fallen stars beyond the glass. "Most guys would have bolted. Or tried to fuck me for a bonus." Carter smirked, swirling his glass, the ruby liquid catching firelight. "I'm not most guys. And you're not as cold as you pretend. What's the real story, Elias? Why not just come out swinging? Tell the old man to shove his will." Elias's fork paused midair, his gaze drifting to the horizon. "Because love's a luxury I can't afford. Not when it cost me everything last time." The words landed like stones in still water. Ripples of pain Carter recognized all too well. His own ex. The one who'd promised forever then fled when the world got loud. They didn't kiss that night. Instead, Carter reached across the table, fingers lacing with Elias's in a touch that felt dangerously real. "Then let's make this count. For both of us." By week's end, the first wire hit Carter's account, 10 grand. Cold and clean. He paid the bills, sent money home, bought a leather jacket that made him feel less like a fraud. But as he stared at his reflection in the estate's gilded mirror, lips still swollen from Elias's latest lesson, he wondered if the real cost was the piece of himself slipping away with every feigned "I love you." The family dinner loomed like a storm cloud. Elias's sister, Victoria, sharp-tongued venture capitalist with a pixie cut and eyes like daggers, arrived first, sweeping in with a bottle of vintage Bordeaux and a hug that felt like reconnaissance. "So, this is the mystery man who's tamed my brother?" she teased, appraising Carter over her wineglass. "Cute. But spill, how'd you snag him?" Elias doesn't do vulnerable. Carter channeled every rom-com he'd binged, slipping an arm around Elias's waist. And a hell of a lot of persistence. Elias's body tensed under his touch, then relaxed, his hand covering Carter's in a squeeze that lingered. The table filled, Aunt Lydia with her pearl necklace and passive-aggressive barbs, Uncle Grant nursing a grudge and a scotch. Elias's father entered last, wheeled in by a nurse, frail as tissue paper, eyes milky but missing nothing. Harlan Voss. The titan who'd clawed from Pittsburgh steel mills to boardrooms. Fixed on Carter like a hawk spotting prey. Boyfriend? Harlan rasped. Voice a wheeze of emphysema and empire. Prove it. The room stilled. Elias's grip tightened. A silent play along. Carter leaned in, pressing a kiss to Elias's temple, lingering. The kind that spoke of lazy Sundays and whispered secrets. Whispers erupted, Victoria's smirk. Lydia's gasp. Grant's grunt. Harlan watched. Unblinking. Then nodded once. Passable. But love's not a performance. Son. It's a wound that never heals. The words haunted Carter through dessert. Through the clink of silverware and forced laughter. Later, in the powder room, Elias cornered him, backing him against the marble sink. You were brilliant, he murmured, lips crashing into Carter's in a kiss that tasted of relief and recklessness. Hands roamed, Elias's under Carter's shirt, tracing ribs that rose and fell too fast. To his fire, the line between pretend and pulse blurring until Carter shoved him back. Gasping. Remember, Carter ended, though his body screamed otherwise. Elias's eyes burned. Fuck the rules. But Carter fled to his room, locking the door on the man who was starting to feel like home. Weeks bled into a haze of stolen moments and spotlight scrutiny. Paparazzi swarmed the gala like locusts, red carpet ablaze with flashes. Elias's arm a steel band around Carter's waist as they posed. Lips brushing ears in murmurs for the lenses. Smile like you mean it, Elias whispered. His breath hot against Carter's neck, sending shivers that had nothing to do with the chill off the Santa Monica Bay. Carter obliged, flashing a grin honed from years of faking it through family Thanksgivings where his queerness was the elephant in the room, trampled under turkey and denial. Inside the ballroom, crystal chandeliers dripped light like liquid diamonds, the elite of LA swirling in tuxes and gowns that cost more than Carter's childhood home. Elias navigated it like a shark, handshakes with studio heads, air kisses from starlets who'd once whispered about his face. Carter played the doting partner, laughing at jokes that landed flat, fetching champagne when Elias's eyes glazed with exhaustion. But beneath the glamour, tension coiled, Victoria's sidelong glances, Harlan's nurse texting updates on the patriarch's progress. You own this room, Carter murmured during a slow dance, their bodies swaying to some orchestral cover of a pop hit. Elias's hands splayed across Carter's lower back, thumb circling a dimple that made his breath hitch. Only because you're here, Elias replied, voice low, eyes locking in a way that stripped the artifice bare. The music swelled, and Carter let himself lean in, forehead to forehead, the world fading to the thud of hearts sinking like a secret code. But secrets have a shelf life. Midway through the night, Carter excused himself to the terrace for air, the salt wind whipping his hair. He lit a cigarette, bad habit from Detroit winters, inhaling deep when a shadow detached from the crowd. Victoria, cigarette in hand, her smile a scalpel. Impressive act, she said, lighting up from his flame. Elias always did pick strays with fire in their veins. But let's cut the bullshit. Carter. What's your angle? The money? The exposure? Or are you actually stupid enough to think this ends with a white picket fence? Carter exhaled smoke, watching it curl into the night. No angle. Just surviving. Like everyone else in this circus. She laughed. sharp as shattered glass. Surviving? Punish. Elias isn't a lifeboat, he's the iceberg. Last guy he loved? Some barista from Silver Lake. Dumped him when daddy threatened the purse strings. Left the poor kid shattered. OD'd on pills 6 months later. Her eyes softened. Just a fraction. Elias didn't mean it. But intentions don't bury bodies. The words landed like a gut punch. Carter's cigarette forgotten as it burned to ash between his fingers. He'd Googled Elias once, tabloid scraps of flings and fallouts, but this? A ghost with a grave? He never mentioned. Of course not. Elias buries his dead deeper than his secrets. Victoria flicked her butt over the railing, watching it spiral into darkness. Walk now, while you can. Before he makes you love him for real. Back inside, Carter found Elias cornered by investors. His laugh forced, eyes scanning for escape. Our eyes met across the room, and Elias excused himself, weaving through the throng to pull Carter into a shadowed alcove. "Miss me?" he teased. But his voice cracked, and before Carter could answer, Elias kissed him, fierce, claiming, tongues tangling in a dance that drowned out Victoria's warning. They stumbled into a coat room, coats muffling gasps as hands fumbled buttons, belts. Elias's mouth trailed fire down Carter's neck, teeth grazing collarbone, a growl escaping as Carter arched into him. "Good. You feel real," Elias breathed, palms sliding under Carter's shirt, fingers splaying over heated skin. It was messy, urgent, Carter's nails digging into Elias's shoulders, hips grinding in rhythm to the muffled bass from the hall. No scripts, no cameras, just skin on skin, breaths ragged, the lie dissolving in sweat and sighs. Slumped against fur-lined racks, Elias traced lazy patterns on Carter's chest. "Stay," he whispered, the vulnerability cracking wide. Not for the contract. For this. Carter's heart clenched, Victoria's words echoing like a dirge. "What if it's all we have?" he asked, voice small. Elias pulled him closer. "Then it's enough." But enough was a lie they both tasted bitter. The next morning dawned gray, the estate shrouded in fog rolling off the sea. Carter woke alone, Elias's side of the bed cool. A note on the pillow, board meeting. Lunch at the Ivy? Wear that blue shirt. Carter dressed. But his reflection mocked him, lips bruised, eyes shadowed by doubts he couldn't shake. Lunch was a minefield. Seated under striped awnings, paparazzi lurking across the street, Elias dove into work talk, some AI startup acquisition, while Carter picked at his Cobb salad. Appetite soured. About last night, Carter ventured, fork stabbing an olive like it owed him answers. Elias's fork paused. "Regrets? No. But transparency. You ever lose someone? Really lose them?" Elias's face shuddered, the mogul mask slamming down. "Ancient history. Why? Just wondering if we're building on bones." The table fell silent, the clatter of Beverly Hills brunch a mocking underscore. Elias reached for his hand, but Carter pulled back, the fracture widening. "Talk to me, Carter. Don't ice me out." But Carter couldn't, not with Victoria's ghost between them. Not with the contract's expiration date looming like a guillotine. "Later," he muttered, signaling for the check. That later stretched into avoidance. Elias buried in calls. Carter in auditions that went nowhere. Their touches turning tentative. Kisses cooling to pecks. The estate felt vast, echoing with unspoken accusations. One night, after a fight over nothing, Elias snapping about a forgotten dry cleaning, Carter retorting with barbs about emotional walls, the dam broke. "You're paying me to be here," Carter shouted, pacing the living room, ocean raging outside like his pulse. "But every time I try to get close, you shove me back." Who's the real fake? Elias. Elias whirled, eyes blazing. "You think this is easy? Parading you like a trophy while my father's dying upstairs? Waiting for me to crack? I hired you because I couldn't do it alone. But now..." Carter. "It's not pretend anymore." "Not for me." The confession hung, raw and ragged. Carter stepped forward, hands fisting Elias's shirt. "Then prove it. Tell me about him. The barista." "All of it." Elias deflated, sinking onto the couch, head in hands. The story spilled halting, Jamie? Wide-eyed dreamer with a laugh like summer. Their year of stolen weekends before Harlan's ultimatum. Choose family or the freak. Elias chose silence. Jamie chose goodbye. And 6 months later, a call from a coroner. "I killed him," Elias whispered, tears carving tracks down his face. "By not fighting." Carter knelt, cupping Elias's face, thumbs brushing away salt. "You were 25. That's not murder, it's surviving." Their foreheads touched, breath sinking. And in that moment, the contract dissolved. Carter kissed him slow, tender, pouring absolution into every press of lips, every sigh. They made love on the rug, Tundle, and hurried. Elias's hands worshipping Carter's body like a prayer. Carter's whispers chasing shadows from Elias's soul. Dawn found them tangled, sunlight gilding sweat-slick skin. "I love you," Elias murmured, the words slipping free like a vow. Carter's heart stuttered. "Say it again." "Without the paycheck. I love you." Carter Hayes. Real as the ache in my chest. For the first time, Carter believed it. But belief is fragile, and LA's underbelly has teeth. The betrayal came swift as a California wildfire. 2 days later, Carter's phone buzzed during a coffee run. Unknown number. "Voicemail, Mr. This is Harlan Voss's attorney. Regarding the contract." Carter's blood iced as he listened, the words blurring, "Payment dispute. Evidence of fraud. Cease all contact." He raced back to the estate, bursting into Elias's office mid-call. "What the fuck? Elias? Your dad knows?" Elias hung up, face ashen. "Victoria." She dug. Found the Craigslist post. Told him everything. Carter's world tilted. "And you? You let her?" "I didn't know until this morning. I was going to tell him myself, and the charade. Come clean about us." Elias stood, reaching, but Carter recoiled. "Us? Or the lie that birthed us?" The hurt clawed up, hot and vicious. "You said you loved me." "But love doesn't hide behind NDAs." Elias's voice broke. "It does when the alternative is losing everything, including you." "If he sues." Carter laughed, bitter. "Sues? For what? Stealing your heart." "Fuck this." He stormed out, grabbing his duffel from the hall. The blue shirt Elias loved crumpled on the floor. Carter. Wait. Elias blocked the door. Desperation etching lines around his eyes. We can fix this. Fight together. But Carter shoved past, the Tesla keys jangling in his pocket like chains. You hired me to pretend. Congrats, you got the full show. But I'm done being your ghost. The door slammed, echoing through the hills like a final curtain. Los Angeles swallowed Carter whole that afternoon. The freeway a concrete river carrying him back to the underbelly he'd clawed from. He ditched the Tesla at a chop shop contact from his stripping days. Quick cash. No questions, then Ubered to a motel off Sunset. The kind with hourly rates and stains that told stories sadder than his. The room smelled of mildew and regret. Neon vacancy, buzzing like a migraine through thin curtains. Carter collapsed on the sagging bed. Phone exploding with texts. Elias's pleas. Come back. Please. It's not over. Victoria's Kurt told you so. And one from an unknown, Harlan's lawyer, forwarding a settlement offer, 50 grand to vanish, with a gag clause wider than the Pacific. He deleted them all, curling into himself, the ache in his chest a black hole sucking in every almost moment. Elias's laugh in the kitchen at 3 a.m. Bodies slick under sheets. Whispers of futures that tasted like freedom. Or just the best role Carter had ever played. Sleep came fitful. Dreams of Detroit winters bleeding into L.A. sun, Mom's frail hand in his. Dad's ghost raging about, that fairy shit, the ex who promised escape then bolted for straighter shores. Morning brought clarity. Sharp as a hangover. He showered off the Voss grime, emerging in jeans and a tee from his duffel, the leather jacket a armor against the world. First stop, a dive bar in West Hollywood. The kind where queens nursed Bloody Marys and spilled truths over drag brunch. Nursing a mimosa. He spilled his own, to Marco. A bartender with eyeliner wings and a heart tattooed on his sleeve. Sounds like classic rich boy trauma porn, Marco drawled, sliding a fresh drink. But honey, if the kisses felt real, they were. Question is, do you fight for the sequel or burn the script? Carter stared into the fizzing orange. Elias's face superimposing on the bubbles. What if fighting means losing myself again? Marco leaned in, voice dropping conspiratorial. Losing yourself? Baby. You found him in the pretending. Now imagine the real thing. No curtains. No cuts. The words lodged like shrapnel. By noon, Carter was at a payphone outside, old school. Anonymous, dialing Elias. It rang once, twice. Voicemail swallowing his resolve. It's me. I miss you. But if we're doing this, no more games. Meet me at Griffith Observatory. Sunset. Alone. He hung up, heart jackhammering, then hit the streets. The city mocked him, billboards of smiling couples hawking cologne. Couples entwined on benches like accusations. Griffith loomed on its hill. Observatory a white-domed sentinel over the sprawl. Carter hiked up, sweat beading despite the breeze, arriving as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in bruise purples and fire oranges. Elias was there, silhouetted against the railing, hands shoved in pockets, posture screaming defeat. No Tesla, no entourage, just him, in faded jeans and that Berkeley tee, looking every inch the man Carter had glimpsed behind the mask. You came, Elias said, voice cracking as Carter approached. Briefly considered ghosting you. Poetic justice. Carter stopped a foot away, arms crossed to keep from reaching. The city stretched below, a glittering lie mirroring their own. Elias turned, eyes red-rimmed, the mogul stripped bare. I fucked up. Let Victoria's poison sink in. Thought I could control the fallout. But losing you? That's the real empire crumbling. He stepped closer. Tentative. Harlan knows everything. Cut me off this morning, frozen accounts. The works. Says I'm dead to him unless I man up. Carter's breath caught. And you? What do you say? Elias closed the gap, hands framing Carter's face, thumbs tracing cheekbones like fragile porcelain. I say fuck the money. Fuck the legacy. I love you. If you'll have me. The kiss was inevitable. A collision of relief and reckoning. Soft at first, apologetic, then deepening as hands tangled in hair, bodies pressing close against the rail. The sun sank, casting long shadows, but in that moment, the world narrowed to Elias's taste, coffee and salt and home. They broke apart gasping, foreheads touching, Carter's fingers tracing the scar on Elias's jaw from a childhood fall he'd never mentioned. Tell me the rest, Carter whispered. No more ghosts. Elias nodded, leading him to a bench overlooking the lights. The story unfolded in halting breaths, Jamie's laugh echoing in empty lofts. The breakup call from a payphone in the rain. The funeral Elias watched from across the street. Too cowardly to cross. I thought love was a transaction, give a little, lose it all. Until you. You made me want to bankrupt the safe. Carter listened, hand in Elias. The pain weaving into something shared, lighter. I get it. Black's tummy said I was too much. Too queer, too broke, too everything. Left me with a lease I couldn't afford and a heart tattooed with regrets. He lifted his sleeve, revealing ink on his forearm. Wanderlust. Scripted in looping blue. Thought I'd never trust again. But here we are. Two fools on a hill. Betting on us. They sat until stars pricked the velvet sky. Talking futures, not mansions. But maybe a walk-up in Silver Lake. Elias coding freelance. Carter chasing roles that mattered. Hope flickered. Fragile but fierce. But LA doesn't do tidy. As they descended the trail, hand in hand, headlights pierced the dusk, a black SUV idling at the lot's edge. Victoria stepped out, arms crossed, face a storm. Romantic, she sneered, eyes flicking between them. But Daddy's not done. He's contesting the will, claiming emotional duress. Elias, he's painting you as the villain, unstable, manipulated by your gold-digging toy boy. Elias stiffened, grip tightening on Carter's. Back off. This isn't your circus anymore. Oh. But it is. She tossed a folder at their feet, printouts, screenshots of the Craigslist ad circled in red. I did this for you. Idiot. To save you from another Jamie. But you're diving headfirst anyway. Carter scooped the folder. Flipping through, his audition tapes from years back. A juvie record from a stupid joyride at 18. Even Mom's hospital bills he'd buried under privacy settings. You hacked me? What the fuck? Research, she said. Unrepentant. Elias deserves better than a hustler with baggage. The betrayal stung. But Carter saw the fear beneath. Victoria, the golden child, terrified of losing her brother to the same void that claimed their mother young. "We're not your enemies," he said, voice steady. "But dig any more, and you'll bury us all." Elias stepped forward, voice steel. "Victoria, and tell Harlan, game over. I choose my life." She lingered, gaze softening to something like sorrow, then retreated to the SUV, taillights fading into the night. Silence felt heavy with aftershocks. "You okay?" Elias asked, turning to Carter. Carter exhaled, folder crumpling in his fist. "Pissed. But yet, we fight this together. Together." Elias pulled him close, kiss sealing the pact. They drove back in a borrowed beater from the lot, Elias's accounts frozen, but friends in low places had wheels. The estate loomed altered, lights dimmed, staff vanished like smoke. Inside, Harlan's room was empty, nurse packing charts, confirming the old man had decamped to a private clinic upstate, will in flux. That night, they raided the wine cellar, toasting to ruins with a 98 Cabernet. Laughter bubbled up, tentative then free. Bodies rediscovering each other on silk sheets, slow explorations. Elias mapping every inch of Carter with lips and tongue. Carter's gasps a symphony of surrender. "Mine," Elias murmured against his thigh. The word a brand. "Yours," Carter echoed, pulling him up, their rhythms sinking in a dance older than deceit. But dawn brought the storm's eye. A courier at the gate, legal papers? Harlan's countersuit, defamation. Demands for repayment of ill-gotten gains. Elias scanned them pale, crumpling the summons. "He wants war." Carter laced fingers with his. "Then we give him one worth winning." The battle lines drew swift. Elias lawyered up, pro bono from a queer advocacy firm in WeHo. Fierce as they came. Carter hit the pavement, auditions ramped up. A callback for an indie flick about fractured families hitting close. Evenings. They strategized over takeout. Elias's laptop glowing with depositions. Carter's scripts scattered like confetti. Yet cracks formed. Sleepless nights. Elias pacing. Ghosts clawing back. One midnight, Carter found him in the study, staring at a photo. Young Elias, arm around a beaming Jamie, sunlight gilding their joy. "What if I break you too?" Elias whispered, voice hollow. Carter knelt, photo set aside. "You won't. Because we're not them." Scarred, stubborn, stupidly in love. He kissed Elias's knuckles, then higher, trailing fire until doubt burned away in moans and mercy. The pressure mounted. Tabloids feasted, Voss Air's sham romance exposed. Photos of Carter's motel check-ins splashed across TMZ. Captions dripping venom. Hate mail flooded, slurs scrawled on envelopes. Voicemails thick with vitriol. Carter's callback? Leaked as pity casting for Voss's boy toy. Doubt crept in. A whisper at dawn, walk. Save him the wreckage. But Elias's arm around his waist. Sleep-soft murmurs of stay. Anchored him. The climax crashed on a Tuesday, court date advanced. Harlan's ambush deposition demanding Elias appear solo. To spare the family further embarrassment. Elias refused. But the judge, a conservative relic, hinted at settlements favoring blood over bedfellows. That night, rage boiled over. Elias hurled a glass at the fireplace, shards exploding like his control. He wins. Always does. I should just sign. Let him have the corpse of our name. Carter grabbed his shoulders, shaking. No. You're Elias Voss, builder of worlds, breaker of chains. We don't sign. We scream. Elias's eyes met his. But then scream with me. They did, fists unclenching into caresses, anger alchemizing to passion on the hearth rug, bodies slamming together in defiance. Bruises bloomed like badges, cries echoing off glass walls, a fuck you to the empire crumbling around them. Panting after, Elias traced Carter's lip. Split from teeth. You're my revolution, Carter smiled. Bloody and bright. And you're mine, but revolutions demand blood. The trial unfolded like a Greek tragedy in a Burbank courthouse, sterile halls echoing with whispers. Harlan wheeled in like a deposed king, oxygen mask hissing accusations. Victoria flanked him, armor of Chanel and calculation, but her eyes darted to Elias with something like fracture. Carter sat in the gallery, leather jacket creaking, heart a war drum as the lawyers circled. Prosecution painted Elias the prodigal, spoiled, seductive, luring innocence into ruin. Exhibits flashed, the Craigslist printout, Carter's bank wires time-stamped like sins. Harlan testified wheezing, voice amplified to venom. My son learned deceit at my knee. But this? Hiring a paramour to mock our blood? It's blasphemy. Elias took the stand steady. Suit tailored but tie askew. A rebel in pinstripes. Blasphemy? Father? Your empire's built on mergers that crushed souls. Deals that devoured dreams. I hired Carter to survive you, not mock you. His gaze found Carter's. Anchoring. But what started as survival became salvation. He taught me love isn't a ledger. Cross-examination gutted him, dates dissected. Jamie's death exhumed like a weapon. Grief made you reckless, the lawyer sneered. Hiring a stranger to fill a grave? Elias leaned forward, unflinching. No. It made me human. And Carter? He's the first person who saw me. Not the shadow. Carter's turn came brutal, sworn. Lights harsh as interrogation. State your relationship, the prosecutor demanded, smirking at the pun. Carter met his eyes, voice clear as cracked ice. Paid at first. Real now. He detailed the desperation, the add a lifeline in a drowning city. Kisses scripted then searing. Elias didn't buy my love. He earned it. Every laugh, every scar shared. Harlan's lawyer pounced, yet you cashed the checks. Whore to hero, convenient arc. The gallery gasped. But Carter didn't flinch. Call me what you want. I grew up queer in Detroit, where love was a punchline or a prayer. Elias gave me a stage to rewrite the script. If that's whoring, sign me up. Murmurs rippled, sympathy shifting like sand. Victoria testified last. Crumbling under oath, I protected him. Always have. But I was wrong. Elias isn't broken. He's brave. Tears tracked her mascara. The first crack in the Voss monolith. The judge recessed. Air thick as verdict loomed. Said, under smoggy skies, Elias pulled Carter into an alcove. Kiss fierce against cinderblock. "Proud of you," he murmured. Hands framing face. "My fighter." "Yours," Carter breathed. But fear gnawed Harlan's eyes. Milky with malice. Promising scorched earth. They waited in a diner across the street, greasy spoons and waitresses with kind eyes, Elias's knee bouncing under the formica. Carter laced fingers. "Grounding. Whatever comes. We rebuild. Coffee shops. Bupamix. I'll busk if I have to." Elias chuckled. "So, you with a guitar? I'd pay to see that." The call came at dusk, mistrial. Harlan's evidence tainted, hacked files inadmissible. Emotional appeals backfiring. Settlement forced, estate split neutral. No gag on their story. Harlan retreated upstate. A hollow victory in his wheezing silence. But freedom's price was steep. Elias's contacts iced, deals dissolved. Invites revoked. The estate sold piecemeal. Proceeds halved by lawyers. They decamped to a Echo Park bungalow, tight, sun-drenched, with a porch swing creaking under starlight. Carter landed the indie role, queer lead. Raw as his bones, filming in the valley. Nights collapsing into Elias's arms. Scripts swapped for sonnets whispered in bed. Elias freelanced code for nonprofits. Tattoos creeping up his arms like rebellion, authentic inked over his heart. Carter's fingers tracing it in the quiet hours. Yet shadows lingered. Harlan's death came 3 months later, stroke in his sleep. Obituary lauding the Titan. Silent on the sun. The funeral was a farce, black suits and crocodile tears. Victoria's hand on Elias's arm a tentative bridge. "He loved you," she whispered graveside. Rain pattering on umbrellas. "In his way." Elias nodded. Throat tight. Carter's hand in his a lifeline. His way wasn't enough. Back home, they burned the will's remnants in the sink, flames dancing like exorcism. That night, lovemaking was cathartic, slow, sacred. Elias entering Carter with a reverence that bordered tears. Bodies arching in unison. Releases mingling like absolution. "Free," Elias gasped after, holding Carter close. Finally, months wove into seasons, Thanksgiving with Marco's chosen family. Christmas lights tangled on their stoop. New Year's kisses under fireworks that burst like promises. Carter's film premiered at Sundance, standing ovation. Reviews hailing his visceral heart, Elias in the front row. Eyes shining brighter than the screen. One evening, porch swing swaying, Elias knelt. Ring glinting, simple silver. Engraved real. "Marry me, Carter." "Not for show. For us." Carter pulled him up. Kiss sealing before words. Just 1,000 times. The wedding was small, WeHo rooftop. Drag queens as officiants. Victoria toasting with genuine warmth. Vows exchanged under string lights. "I choose you." Every broken beautiful piece. Rings slid on. Cheers erupted. And as they danced, barefoot, beers in hand, Carter felt it, the depth of a love forged in fire, tempered in truth. Years later, gray threading their hair, they'd tell the story over dinners with godkids, Jamie's scholarship fund thriving. Harlan's shadow faded to footnote. "We pretended," Elias would say. Hand over Carter's. Until the pretend became prophecy. And in the quiet, as sunsets bled gold over the hills they'd claimed, Carter knew, Some loves are hired. Others? The homestro. Relentless.